just had an excellent presentation, and I hope my presentation will meet the same standards and give you some basic information about how we feel agriculture is positioned in the Netherlands. And give you some basic information about how we feel agriculture is positioned in the Netherlands. Some basic figures. Korea is 2.5 times my country. Korea is an extremely important country for the Netherlands. It's our second market in Asia. Number 1 is China, 2 is Korea, 3 Singapore, 4 Japan, 5 Indonesia. It's of growing importance to the Netherlands. We have around 140 Korean companies established in my country, which is a growing number with some 5-10% a year. And the number of students, and that's interesting to see the link with agriculture, is growing tremendously. Where we had some 5-10 years ago around 200-300 students, now we have around 2,500 students in the Netherlands, and that's growing every year with hundreds. So I'm very happy about that. This is what we are looking at when you compare the Netherlands and Korea. And a couple of things I want to highlight here. First of all, land size. Not so much different. Not so much different. Not at all, actually. But what really kicks in is if you look at the land size per farm, where the average farm in Korea is 1.5 hectares. In the Netherlands, we're looking at 28 hectares. That creates economies of scale and innovation opportunities. Really important. The number of farms, 1 million, 65,000. Average age is important, but look at the difference in income. $33,000 in my country, $77,000, which is above the average, way above the average. What really is an important factor is that the Korean agriculture exports 7.2 billion. In my country, it's 100 billion a year on exports, and that is an incredible achievement for a small country like the Netherlands, I think. But these figures give a little bit the dynamics between both our countries. I already told you our position on the international business side of agriculture. The number 1 is the US, quite difficult to beat, but we are the number 2. And I guess you can say 2 things. A very small country feeds the world, a tiny country feeds the world, but also in my country, agriculture is big business. It's really big business. And being a farmer in the Netherlands means that you are a very, very solid businessman. Now, let's dive a little bit more into agriculture in the Netherlands. What are the key elements for success? I think we find them here. Education, no doubt, extremely important element for success. Balanced development. Later on we'll see that the Netherlands has a development process where you have hardware, software and mindset in a very balanced way. And that is, I think, a very important element, next to the fact that we believe that industry, academia and private sector have to work together to create a better agricultural sector and better future for the country as well. We have a very consistent policy. It doesn't change so much one government after the other. We have a very consistent focus on agriculture, supporting the farmers, make them an integral part of our economy. It's simply too important for us. It's really become such an important part of our economy that we cannot live without it anymore. It's an integrated thinking, integrated chain management. It's not just the farm, it's the whole complex around it. It's the roads, it's the distribution, it's the whole network around the farm that makes it successful as well. We call it integrated chain management. CSR, that's where the government is putting a lot of emphasis on. In the Netherlands, you are part of a society. You're not operating in splendid isolation. You are part of a society, you have a responsibility for that society. As a farm, as an industry, as academia, as a government. And free trade. We very much believe in free trade. In fact, we need the world more than the world needs us. We're very small. Without free trade, we have a tremendous problem, and we have to start negotiating with all kinds of countries. It gives us tremendous headaches. So we're very much in favor of free trade and open trade markets. Now, the approach that leads to success is actually this one. And the key word here is integrated. We do not believe that things stand alone. We believe that they're part of a bigger complex, and an integrated approach to agriculture leads to success. What's the Netherlands? What's agriculture? We believe, I told you already, in a very balanced approach. That means hardware, software, mindset. Hardware is the physical infrastructure. The greenhouses, the development of roads, the development of ports, the development of whatever a farm needs to be successful. Software is the more academic approach, intellectual property, know-how, IT, etc., etc. And mindset has to do with a lot of things that are a bit intangible, if you like. Trust in each other, social cohesion, status of farmers in a society, the role agricultural industry plays in a society, education. But we very much believe that these things should develop in balance, should be in balance, in order to be successful. And that's the government role, to focus on the three components. What you see in the Netherlands, from the late Middle Ages up to now, is a kind of balanced approach. It's a kind of balanced approach between hardware, software and mindset. It's a gradual process. We've seen the same in Korea, but in a way you're a victim of your own success. Because Korea in the 60s started an incredible adventure by developing its country and economy after the Korean War, up to the 10th economy in the world. But you cannot do that. It's impossible to develop a nation in a balanced way. Korea focused extremely on hardware, extremely on output, extremely on exports, but certain sectors just could not keep up. Certain sectors did not get the same political attention as other sectors. I believe agriculture is a sector that has really catching up to do. I believe the agriculture sector in Korea has absolutely a potential, but it was not given the same focus as the car industry, the shipbuilding industry, you name it, you name it. And that makes that things grow apart. And that's basically the situation where you are in right now, with small-scale farms, with the farming industry that's getting a bit old. People are getting old. Young people don't feel attracted anymore to the agricultural sector because it's hard work, it's labor. And Chanel and Louis Vuitton and Gucci are found in the cities, right? So it's development. In the Netherlands you've seen a very gradual one, and here, with your incredible economic boom, you created the diversion for agriculture, I think. This is a slide that's an interesting one, because this is the situation in the Netherlands after the Second World War. Old, tired, people wanted to get out of it. It's too much hard work, we're getting old. Young people saw new opportunities, young people saw new roads. They saw the cities, they saw finance, they saw banking, they saw legal things. They didn't want to work in the farm anymore. But the government realized this is a problem for us. If we let it go, it slips away from us. We will create a huge gap in a society between the farmers on the one hand and the other part of the country on the other hand. So we need to step in. And what did they do? The government didn't actually interfere so much in farming, but they created an environment for farms to grow. What they did is they approached these farmers, said, hey, you want to get out of it? You're too old, we'll buy your land. We will buy it from you. Why? To create innovation, economy of scale. We'll take it from you. We're not doing that to make profit. We'll buy it from you and we sell it for the same price to someone who wants to make agriculture a big business again. So there are more things involved in that. We set up cooperative structures. The cooperative bank was there to finance innovation, to finance equipment, etc. What we did, what we wanted to do is actually this. We wanted to create economies of scale. This doesn't lead to innovation. This leads to headache, right? And people getting tired. This leads to innovation because it's business. It becomes a big business. Now, I told you about the golden triangle. Basically, we're talking PPP, public-private partnership. What do I mean by that? Three players are doomed to be working together. There is no way one can live without the other. Companies, they have a very strong public responsibility, but also market responsibility and know-how responsibility for a country. Companies, they are focusing on the market and they want to sell products and want to make profit and shareholders happy. And there's the knowledge sector, which want at the end of the day to innovate, etc. We believe that these three have to sit around the table and talk and come up with a kind of sound policy that benefits all in all directions. And why is agriculture then a little bit different? Well, actually not a little bit different, it's a bit different, big difference. It requires a little bit of different approach, and this is how we see that in the Netherlands. Where you look at industries, you see that they're led by companies. I just told you already, this is the golden triangle. Samsung focuses on innovation by itself. They have their R&D centers. They don't really need the government that much. When you look about agriculture, you talk about different responsibilities. You talk about the society. You talk about people. You talk about healthcare. You talk about where does the country need to go in the coming 4, 5, 6, 10, 15 years. What kind of students do we need? What kind of... It's a different animal altogether. So we believe that agricultural sector requires a different approach. Now, University of Wageningen. You cannot innovate in isolation. Now, what I try to say is, this is what the Dutch food valley looks like. This is the golden triangle in working. This is how you see that the Netherlands, University of Wageningen, is part of a bigger thing. Where's Wageningen? Here's Wageningen University. But look around it. What kind of companies are connected to the university and where they work together? Not just Dutch companies, but also international companies like Heinz, like Nestlé, like Danone. But all the key Dutch players are there, where R&D, research is done together with the university. That gives the university tremendous leverage, but they are part of a bigger community where they know that what we do not do in splendid isolation, but we do that to create better products, to help companies, to create products that are good for the society, good for the world. We open this for, not just for Dutch companies, for everyone, because we believe that working together, it shouldn't be limited to the Netherlands, but should be limited basically to the world. And it creates an incredible dynamic, also for students, because they get chances to learn companies, to work with companies, to do projects together. And what we see is that, I talked about investment in the Netherlands. Where first Korean companies looked at my country as, oh, it's a great place for logistics, so we have Port of Rotterdam, Port of Amsterdam. Let's go there, distribution, and boom, everything goes into Europe. We see now Korean companies looking at the Netherlands like, okay, this is an interesting country because they have an integrated approach. And how can the Dutch approach, the Dutch economy, help us forward our business models in Europe or perhaps even globally? And that's why we see now a very interesting shift in the type of investments. This is an interesting slide because this comes out of a what do you call that, annual report from one of the bigger companies, dairy companies in the Netherlands, but also in the world. The Chief Executive Officer, that's why this slide is basically here. Wageningen University is the center for our R&D activities, and that's it. When you talk about University of Wageningen, this is the kind of cooperation they're looking for. This is the kind of cooperation they established. And it has to do also with funding. Let's get real. Universities need money. They get money from the private sector to do things together, to create better products, sustainable products, and to work for a more sustainable future together. But what you see here, an interesting figure, is that about 25% comes from abroad. Wageningen University focuses very much on the international market, tries to get people in from all over the world, provides scholarships to some countries as well, just to share the concept, just to make them realize what agriculture in the Netherlands is about and how we connect with companies, etc. So we hope that by having this international policy, we spread the concept. We make other countries think as well in the long run, because investing in students is, I believe, investing in the future. some key points of Wageningen. I guess you can basically read it for yourself. But what I picked up is that if you look at the food valley concept that basically surrounds the University of Wageningen, all these different companies and institutes, there are around 15,000 professionals active in food-related science. 15,000. Just imagine 15,000 professionals around you where you have contact with to develop products, to innovate, and to move forward. I think that's an incredible dynamic. In the Netherlands, it's not about creating hardware, it's not about building greenhouses. The greenhouse is the shell, it is the concept behind it, the software, the mindset, working together, that makes the Netherlands, I think, quite strong in agriculture and also helps Wageningen in the Netherlands to create this position. Now, one more thing, how do we see the Korean agricultural sector? And this is something that Ojin and I discussed. How do we see it? How do we read it? It's dynamic, it's hardworking. At the same time, it's small scale, and agriculture doesn't have a solid image in Korea for young people. There's a world to be won there. There's a world to be won. That's where government could step in. That's where government could take a role and to take to make it young and sexy again instead of old and tired. Right? Make agriculture something that people, hey, this is an interesting industry for me to work on. Make it big business. What you have done with shipbuilding, what you have done with semiconductors. When I talk with your government, I say, I just don't understand you because you have an FTA with China, right? If I go to China, they look at Korea, that's another planet. Everything from there is good, is safe, is better than what we have. If you start producing food and you export it to China, there's an incredible market to be won. Like with cosmetics, it's the same thing. But somehow, when I talk with your government about agriculture, they don't want to work with us in the same way. They say, no, agriculture is ours. Agriculture, it belongs to us. Agriculture is the soil. You're talking about people we need to protect, people we need to support, instead of helping them to move to a different phase. A bit frustrating for us, because we believe that there's a whole world to be won in agriculture. We have been defining agriculture as a key sector for future relations between the Netherlands and Korea. And we really believe, without talking profit, we're not only talking money, we're talking about something we can do together. Forgive me for that. Thank you.